Let's start with question number 7. Five sentences they have provided to us, and we have to find the odd sentence. Let's start with the first one. UK is world leader in what developing cultivated meat and the approval of cultivated pet food as an important milestone. So, if you realize the full potential benefits of this cultivated meat, the government must invest in research and infrastructure. Okay, so first UK applications for cultivated meat produced by humans remain under assessment with Food Standards Agency. So still in 1, 2, 3, we are talking about the same topic, that this is a milestone by UK government, and we have to realize about how this became a milestone, how what are the potential benefits of this, and for that we have to invest in research and infrastructure. So first UK application for cultivated meat produced for human remain under assessment with Food Standard Agencies. Now, the previous UK government had been looking about fast tracking of approval of cultivated meat for human consumption. So this is something historical because previous UK government has done what on and that too about human consumption. Still in 1, 2, 3 we are not focused on consumption. It underscores what underscores this potential system underscores the potential for new innovation that help to reduce negative impacts of intensive animal agriculture. So you can see that we are talking about the same process, but in option number 4 we are basically dealing with approval of cultivated meat for human consumption. So option 4 becomes our answer, that is odd one out. Coming to the next passage. This passage is about spices, and spices were a global commodity for centuries for European voyages. Now, what happens that these spices, okay, these spices desire became so important that it fueled the European colonial empires to create political, military, commercial networks under a single power. Means we are talking about colonization. So how this helped? So historians know a fair amount about supply of spices in Europe during medieval period, origin, method of transportation, but less about the demand. And why to go such extraordinary efforts to procure expensive products from exotic islands? So still demand was great enough to inspire voyages like Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, launching first faithful way of European colonialism. Now, what happens? Why it was so exotic? Why it was so in demand? So the author has given answer in paragraph 3. So the main reason was you can see medieval demand of spices because they cover the taste of spoiled meat, and medieval purchases to consume meat fresher than that average city dwellers in the developed world of today has at hand. So refrigeration was not available. Some hot spices have been shown to serve as antibacterial agent. If they are not using spices for refrigeration, they have to use salting, smoothing, drying, and other means of preservation. And these spices were in cooking began as medical ingredients throughout the Middle Ages. Now, what happened? Used as both medicines as well as condiments. Above all, medieval recipes involved the combination of medical as well as culinary lore in order to balance foods, humoral properties and prevent disease. Most spices were hot and dry, and so appropriate sauces to counteract the moist and the wet properties of supposedly possessed by most meat and fish. Now, what happens next? That when these spices came from was known as weeks and centuries before voyages of Columbus. So they were has started looking at medieval geographical maps, and to these peoples, India was what? India was often placed India close to so-called earthly paradise, Garden of Eden described in the Bible. So India was placed to some earthly paradise, because in case how they are growing spices or growing pepper in India, especially in case of paragraph number 5, you can see they used to have a story, 7th century medieval people, especially Europeans, that in India the spices used to grow on trees guarded by serpents that would bite and poison anyone who attempted to gather the fruit. The only way to harvest pepper was to burn tree which would drive the snakes underground. Of course, this bit of lore story would explain the shriveled back peppercorns, but not white, pink, and other colors. Spices never had the enduring allure or power of gold and silver or commercial potential of the new products such as tobacco, indigo, or sugar of that time, but the taste did continue for a while beyond Middle Ages, and author is giving you an example as in late 17th century, the English and the Dutch were struggling for control of Spice Islands. Dutch New Amsterdam or New York was exchanged by the British for one of the Falkland Islands where nutmeg was grown. So this was the importance of spices. The main central idea revolves around the same thing, that how these spices were highly prized in medieval Europe, and therefore culinary uses but also for medicinal properties. And the demand of spices drove European exploration, colonialism, leading to establishment of global trade networks, and geographical knowledge and fascinated by exotic origins of spices, which contributed to their high value. Passage also explain how these were used in medieval cooking to balance humoral properties of food and prevent diseases, while the demand for spices declined over time, remained significant until 17th century. So let's start with question number 8. In the context of the passage, which one of the following conclusion cannot be reached? So, what are the options? India was colonized for spices and gold. Tobacco was more marketable than spices. Spice trade was the driver of colonial expansion. Colonialism was motivated by demands for spices. So from paragraph number 1, you can see last line says that desire for spices helped fuel European colonial empires to create political, military, commercial network under a single power. Means option number 4 and 3 can be confirmed from here, because colonial expansion was there and it was motivated by demand of spices. Okay, so conclusion cannot be reached. We have to find, but these two can be reached. Now, in the last para, when author mentions tobacco, indigo, and sugar, let's check. Spices never had the enduring allure or power of gold or silver, or the commercial potential of new products such as tobacco, indigo, or sugar, because these products were commercially successful as compared to spices. So yes, tobacco was possible. In case of India, author has not mentioned. Author has only mentioned how India was looked upon. Okay. So, as an earthly paradise, India was looked upon, but not about colonization. So, this conclusion cannot be drawn. So, our answer becomes option number 1. Coming to next question. It can be inferred that all of the following contributed to a decline in allure of spices except. So what you have to find here is not contributed to decline of allure of spices except, means not contributed to the decline of allure of spices. Got it? Once again, it can be inferred that all of the following contributed to a decline in the allure of spices except, means contributed to decline in allure of spices except means not contributed to decline of allure of spices. One of the same thing. So let's start. Changes in European cuisine, development of refrigeration techniques, increase in availability of spices, changes in system of medical treatment. So paragraph 3 mentions all the advantages. Okay, so when I talk about European cuisines, option number 1, appropriate in sauces. Last paragraph, most spices were used hot and dry. This is mentioned. Most spices used in cooking, antibacterial agent, medical ingredients. So this is given. So I can say option number 4 is mentioned here. One is mentioned there. Okay. When I come to development of refrigeration techniques, because refrigeration was not available, so we used to use spices as an antibacterial agent. So this is also mentioned. Now, why spices are so high priced in Europe? One widely disseminated explanation, and they have given you everything why spices were in demand. Now, what happens when I come to these options? You can see 1, 2, 3, 3 and 4. These four options, out of these four options, you can see decline in the allure of spices. It will happen when? Okay, not contributed to the decline. Means you can directly infer that decline in the allure of spices will happen only and only when they are not in demand. So if the spices are in demand, definitely there will not be decline. So not contributed to decline in allure of spices means there was demand, means there was increased demand. See, if there is changes in European cuisine. See, for example, most spices were hot and dry, so appropriate in sauces. So if there is change in this cuisine, then also other demands will be there, like medical treatment, refrigeration. Suddenly, all the factors, all the advantages cannot go away. So there will be demand of spices. Okay, and if there is increase in this availability of spices, definitely there it will not contribute to the decline in the allure of spices. So our answer option becomes option number 3. Coming to next one, if a trader brought white peppercorns from India to medieval Europe, all of the following are unlikely to happen except. So white peppercorns is mentioned in paragraph number 5, wherein you have this European 7th century Europe and how pepper is harvested, and they have a story about it, about serpent story in the passage. So here in the last line you can see would explain the shivered black peppercorns, but not white, pink, and or other colors. Okay, so what happens when you come to this question, if trader is bringing white color peppercorn, all of the following are likely to happen except. Okay, Europeans will doubt the story of pepper harvesting. Definitely, they will doubt because they have this mentality. Harvest pepper was to burn the trees, which would drive the snakes underground. Of course, this bit of lore would explain shivering black peppercorns. Yes, the price of spice would decrease. Any color will go, but it will not affect the price. Medieval maps would used to be navigation aids because they are coming there, and it is not about mapping, it is about trader brought. Okay, so how they come, what they use, they are already using maps. Pepper would no longer be considered exotic. It is not about how exotic the pepper is, it is about the color of the peppercorns. So your answer will be option number 1. Coming to the next question. In the context of the passage, the people who heard the story of pepper trees being guarded by snakes would be least likely to arrive at the conclusion. Least likely to arrive at the conclusion. Why? See, least likely to arrive at the conclusion means about this particular story. It is no surprise that pepper supply is so limited. Yes, because the taking of the pepper, according to them, in this 7th century European, this serpent story, taking the pepper is very, very crucial part. It's very difficult. It is not advisable to go to India to harvest pepper themselves. Yeah, they can think that it's very dangerous. Pepper is costly for a good reason. Yes, they can think about it. But least likely to arrive at the conclusion is that this is why pepper is so hot. Okay, they will not think about the temperament of pepper, or you can say pepper was to burn the tree which would drive the snakes underground. Of course, this bit of lore would explain the shivered black peppercorns, not white or other colors. So they are more concentrated on the color of the peppercorns. And when I say least likely to go on, so they will not talk. The answer will go for pepper is so hot. Why it has having this hotness in that texture? Okay, coming to the next passage.